Here is yet another perfect example of WokeTards, pro-diverse WokeTards, who rather die, be assaulted, and be harassed by diversity hands than actually call out who and what the problem actually is. Now, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about all of the hate crime hoaxes that's been going on. You know, with the Jussie Smolletts and all the other woke libtards of Hollywood and people with the liberal mindset who've been out here for years now talking about how it's white supremacy doing this, it's MAGA hats doing that. Over and over again, they repeat this bullshit. And yet, here we have yet another example of Wakandians, 6 Wakandians being responsible for hate crimes after more than 100 Asian women targeted in Bay Area robberies. And you should notice the Disney company, which owns ABC News, is still protecting these criminals, even though they, along with Hollywood and the various rallies that have happened in recent years, all of them have been talking about Stop Asian Hate, but blaming white supremacists and MAGA hats for it. But here is the reality. It's the fucking Wakandians who are responsible for this bullshit, and you won't hear a peep out of the mouths of white woke libtards, woke blacks, or woke Asians, who I'm sure are among the 100 women who are being assaulted. In fact, it's been 170 incidents within the past year, if you told them all together, including men and women. And you still have ABC News talking about how it's just 6 men that are doing it, not specifying the race and ethnicity of these men. Now, again, like I said, if anyone who's been assaulted, robbed, harassed, if anyone of these 100 to 170 people, if any one of them are libtards who supported Biden, then guess what? I don't give a fuck what happens to you. Don't give a fuck. I'm only highlighting this story to continue to highlight the utter fucking hypocrisy that exists and to highlight how fucking retarded libtards are. Because again, they rather die by diverse hands, be assaulted and be robbed by diverse hands than call out the real issue, because they rather just try to blame MAGA hats and white supremacy. And when they say white supremacy, they're talking about white conservatives. They aren't talking about their precious white liberals. Now, this same sort of mentality, unfortunately, has existed for so-called black people for decades. That you'll have someone that lives in a majority black neighborhood who has had close family members die, friends die, hell, even have crimes attempted onto them or crimes happen to them, and yet and still they'll go to this blame the white man bullshit. Why? Because it's seen as a liberal Democrat supporting offense if you dare highlight and blame who the culprits are. Because whenever someone wants to address black on black crime, they be like, oh, what about white on white crime? What about that? That's a racist conservative talking point. And again, people who say this are the same fucking retards who are victims of these fucking Wakandians. I have no such allegiance to anyone based on their fucking skin color or gender or anything else. I respect people who can leave others alone. You know? And I'm not just talking about people that I know, I'm talking about strangers as well. The stranger who walks by and doesn't bother people, who drives by and doesn't bother people. I like people like that. But people who insist on fucking with others, especially criminal bastards like this, they can all be locked up forever or die. I don't care. Which is why I have no feelings about these police-involved shootings or shootings involving non-police, regular everyday citizens who kill motherfuckers that have a long career criminal history. Because they are people who like to fuck with others. Now, again, amongst the WokeTards, amongst the Libtards, they're cool with this. They're cool with what is happening right now. Because throughout these liberal cities, like in San Fran, where you got fucking the dumb mayor, you got the AOC bitch who's just denying that smash and grab robberies are happening, even though they're on video. You got bitches like that who are pushing that narrative, and you got their supporters who are still supporting them. But then those same supporters will turn around and claim that they are tired of the rise of crime, that this needs to stop. Every time some little black child gets murdered, you have all these fucking WokeTards who gather around with their fake-ass false prophets and preachers and celebrities who gather around talking about RIP, this needs to stop, but they don't want to highlight who and what the problem is. Well, those same fucking WokeTards who complain about that are now complaining about the rise of crime here, but yet and still they will not call it out. Instead, they'll just say it's hate crimes in general. And we know when someone say hate crimes in general in the mainstream media, they automatically assume, oh, it must be them Klansmen, it must be them Nazis, it must be them white supremacists, it must be them MAGA hats. Fucking retards like that. Even though we all have access to social media, thus we all have access to all of these video clips that are literally showing who's fucking responsible. But guess what? That company that just released that Spider-Man movie, they're still protecting the identities of these criminals. They're just listing their names and just saying, oh, it's just 6 men. They won't highlight the race and ethnicity, whereas they'll say white supremacists, white this, white that, when they're talking about instances that aren't even proven to be fact. And again, these people having similar skin color to me, being the culprits in this, doesn't mean anything. Because guess what? These same motherfuckers will kill someone I care about just like that. They don't give a fuck about racial or skin color allegiance. So why in any blue hell would I give a fuck about that? I remember when I was a teenager, walking home from something, some fucking idiot actually robbed me at gunpoint and called me brother while stealing something from me. But yeah, I'm supposed to be fucking fanboying over pro-black bullshit? Fuck that. But again, there's plenty of people who will have crimes committed against them that'll still be about all this pro-black bullshit. I mean, I don't know. Call me insane, but I don't have a racial preference for who commits crime against me. Every crime that could be committed against me or someone I care about or some stranger that is minding their own business, every crime committed against people like that is a hate crime as far as I'm concerned, which is why I see this hate crime law bullshit as just retarded. But again, the people who are pushing it for a purpose. But again, you'll have people who aren't liberal, who are conservative, who are right-leaning. Hell, some of them even have major platforms, and they see themselves as cultural warriors and cultural critics. But when Disney, the same company that's protecting the identity of these men, when that same company releases a movie that has all of the nostalgia in the world, like Spider-Man No Way Home, as soon as they release something like that, those same conservatives, cultural critics with large platforms, they're the first in line just gobbling that Disney dick. Oh, I thank you for the nostalgia, Disney. Now go back to calling me a white supremacist. So I'm calling out the conservative cucks as well. It's the conservative cucks and it's the retarded libtards who are in combination helping fuck up society nationwide. And you can guarantee some of these morons are going to flee to Texas and then vote for the same shit that they voted for and supported in California. I mean, fucking Texas need to freaking allow, they gave up Austin and Houston because they allowed libtards to invade that. Why? Because they fucking cucks. You know, they're the Cody Nixons of the world who say, you know, cookout's not racist. It's like me getting together with my fellow infantrymen. Fucking pussies, man. They only tough when they get paid by the government to kill somebody else in another country. But when it comes to protecting their own home in their own country, they go along with all of the mainstream narratives. Because at the end of the day, they're no different than the woke libtards because they're enablers of the woke libtards because they're so fucking busy trying not to be viewed as racist. Well, if you're amongst these Asians that keep getting attacked, how in the fuck do you not stereotype and be like, okay, these motherfuckers are dangerous. I need to be on guard with them. Which is another reason why I despise motherfuckers like this. Because it's motherfuckers like this that make it difficult for people like me and others like me that just want to get in some tight Asian wet pussy, but they think I'm going to smash and grab them, you know, in a bad way because of what these idiots are doing in the Bay Area right now. These 6 dudes. And these 6 dudes are just an example of many others. But again, like I said before, the people who are being victimized by these guys, you know, are the same people who are attending these rallies about Stop Asian Hate. And you got the Stop Asian Hate Hollywood actors who are all promoting that Stop Asian Hate bullshit. It'd be the exact same ones who would then become victims of these people who will still blame white supremacy for it. So that's why I say a lot of these people are getting what they deserve. And they're in the Bay Area, they're in San Fran, so more than likely they supported the libtard agenda. They supported Joe Biden. They supported Gavin Newsom. So that's why I say I truly only have sympathy for those who's not voting for and who's not supporting this libtard bullshit. But it's still important to call out, to highlight the chaos and carnage that's going on. Because again, even if you wanted to play those pro-black games, it'd be like, yeah, I'm with everything black. I'm with everything black. The fact of the matter is, these Negroes will assault you in a split second. So there is no benefit to that bullshit. And you already know, especially if you're a so-called black male, where you're at on the hierarchy of woke, on the hierarchy of the libtard, you're at the bottom fucking rung. The bottom rung. You exert any masculinity, dare try to lead your household, dare to have valid criticisms about things, they'll call you a symbol of white supremacy. Call you a sexist, a misogynist, all that other bullshit. Homophobe, transphobe, two-spirits phobe, you know, whatever fictional identities they have, they want to put on you. They'll call you that shit. And so again, where's the benefit, even if I was thinking in that want to play woke games way? I mean, the only benefit actually is if you're a masochist and you just enjoy being insulted and you enjoy being at the bottom of the heel, the bottom of the boot of this woke movement. You know, if you enjoy being insulted and looked down upon and last rung, then yeah, I guess you should play these woke games because you're a masochist and you enjoy it. But if you're not, you're stupid for playing these woke games, to say the least. But yeah, it's just another example of the utter chaos that's going on, and it's only going to get worse. And when the pendulum switches to the other side of things, I think it's fair to say that we're going to get another crime bill that will be even more intense than the previous. And I'm starting to understand how the first crime bill came about, because I think preceding the 80s, a lot of shit was happening. I mean, I always hear stories about like how in the 70s and in the cities it was like crazy, and early 80s in New York and all that was crazy. So obviously there's a routine going on. They purposely allow a lot of riots, like what happened in the 60s, and then a lot of gangs that form following those riots and high crime that follows those riots. They allow that shit for generations, for decades. And then it justifies the crime bill that's to come. And then they repeat the cycle once again. And again, this shit is easy to see because we have the internet. We have social media. We have access to elders who can tell you these stories. So that's why I say this shit is easy to highlight, but motherfuckers are just too dedicated in committing to into their woke-tarded racial victimhood complex bullshit that they're not willing to acknowledge the reality and what's going on. Because again, people who are successful that live in mostly Wakandian neighborhoods, they aren't successful and then leaving the neighborhood because they love the community so much. No, it's because they know who and what the problem is. And if the shit is never addressed, then the shit will never get better. And so-called black people will always be the token pawns who can easily be exploited every freaking decade, every freaking year. Because again, Booker T. Washington in 1911 was calling out the race hustlers, and Malcolm X, a lot of who the pro-blacks dare like to act like they're in alignment with, but Malcolm X would hate these bastards because Malcolm X himself called out the liberal race hustlers as well, saying that they were 10 times worse than the conservative ones. And again, that was Malcolm X and that was Booker T. Washington that actually had to face real Klansmen when they actually had a presence. Not the fairy tale Klansmen that people like Jussie Smollett have to manufacture. They didn't have to manufacture shit back then, but they still was able to highlight and criticize the race hustlers who pretended to be these allies. And I believe that's a lot of who is being victimized by these Wakandians. They're people who are these allies, and they're suffering the consequences for being allies to bullshit. But for those who are truly victims and they're just stuck in the Bay Area, stuck in San Fran, I sympathize with you. But those who are WokeTards and Libtards, suffering for the consequences of their actions for, supporting this bullshit, then I have zero sympathies for you. And that's just how it goes.